Today is the commemoration of the faithful departed. This commemoration used to be known and is still known in some circles as All Souls Day. The word soul is a Greek concept and not a Jewish term. No one has really defined soul. The Greek word psyche, which can mean the inner person, sometimes the heart, sometimes what goes on within the mind, are all translations of soul. However, for the Jew, the human person was not a soul imprisoned in a body like for the Greeks, but for the Jew and therefore for Jesus, the human person was one composite whole. And that is why when the human person died, the entire person died. For the Greeks, however, the body was disparaged, and that's why you could kill the body, because then the soul would go to God. But the Jew had no concept of the soul. The Jew had only the concept of the human person as one composite whole. And that is why when Jesus goes to Gethsemane before his arrest, he is frightened and terrified. And that is why when Jesus goes to pray in Gethsemane in the Gospel of Luke chapter 22 verses 44, Luke will tell us Jesus sweated what seemed like great drops of blood falling to the ground. In other words, Jesus was extremely frightened before his death because he was a Jew and because he understood death as total oblivion. There was no theology of the resurrection at the time of Jesus. At the time of Jesus, there was only the understanding that there could be a rising from the dead, not of all, but only of the righteous. But what rising from the dead meant, no one really had defined. It was Jesus who rose first from the dead, who explained to everyone the meaning of the resurrection. And that is why in the creed which we recite, whether the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed, we do not speak about the resurrection of the soul, we speak about the resurrection of the body. Because Jesus rose bodily from the dead and is now seated at the right hand of the Father. The commemoration of the faithful departed, therefore, after the resurrection of Jesus, is saying to us that for us as believers in Jesus, for us as Christians, life is only changed in death, not ended. As a matter of fact, Paul asks in his letter to the Thessalonians, "Death, where is thy sting?" Death has no sting after the resurrection of Jesus, because for the Christian there is eternal and everlasting life. Death is a mystery. And the meaning of a mystery is that there is something about it that we know, but a great deal about it that we do not know. And so life is a mystery, Jesus is a mystery, and death is a mystery. What we can know about death is that because we are all mortal and made of flesh and bones, every one of us has to die someday. We can also tell after a person has died through a post-mortem how a person may have died. But what we can never know about death, what will always remain a mystery, is why a person must die at a particular moment in that person's life. Why my father? Why now? Could not my God have let my father live for another few years on this earth? Could God had not left my child live till he became a youth and an adult? Could not God let my husband live until we were more soundly on our feet? Could not God make my wife live until my children became older? These are questions we ask when God takes away from us without explanation someone whom we love so much. And every time we ask these questions, there is only silence on the part of God. But the answer to this silence is given to us by Paul in his first letter to the Thessalonians in chapter 4, when he says that we as Christians cannot grieve over death as those who have no hope. Our hope is in the resurrection of the Lord. Our hope is in the risen Christ. Our hope is in the Christ who lives with the Father. And so, our ancestors, and so our forefathers, and so the members of our family, and so our loved ones, whether husband or wife, or children or parents, or relatives or friends, are all alive with God. When Jesus is asked a question by the Sadducees who did not believe in the resurrection, his response to them is that our God is Emmanuel. Our God is a God with us. Our God is I am. Not a God of the past, not a God of the future, but a God of the now. The 14th century poet John Donne summarizes what death has to be for the Christian and what new life must be in his poem, Death Be Not Proud. This is what he says. Death, be not proud. Some have called thee mighty and dreadful, but thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure. Then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go. Rest of their bones and souls delivery, thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men. And thus with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and popular charms can make us sleep as well, and better than thy stroke. Why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. This is the Christian message, that for us, death does not kill us, but death dies because we rise again.